Well, Senator, it's always great to hear you. It quite frankly is a little bit intimidating, you know, your vocabulary and how you articulate things and your IQ. You're talking to a football coach here that, you know what, I just kind of control the little sandbox that's behind me. But our friendship is special, and you have given me a great understanding what the people of the state of Wyoming are about.
When you told me I could go address the football team during that practice that time, and you think I was eloquent, I was a stumble bum. I had goose pimples as big as pool balls all over me. That was a magnificent thing. That teared me up. Anyway, here we go. Hope you're on the field.
Thank you, Senator Simpson, and feel free to jump back in if you have any additional things you want to chime in on as we continue.
I will, if I can just stop Geesey from ever getting into this thing again. I know he's up there. I see his face now. Oh,
yeah, there he is.
Anyway, enough of that. Yeah, I'll hang around. I'd love to hear some of it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful.
Great honor and privilege. Thanks, Michelle, too.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, welcome Coach Bohl. It's great to have you, and also welcome Tanner Gentry, former wide receiver of the Wyoming Cowboys. And full disclaimer here, also happens to be my nephew. I know there's a lot of resemblance, so if you probably would have guessed it anyway, but that is also my connection to Tanner as well. So Coach Bohl and Tanner, thank you for being here. I think what we'll do is kind of throw a question out and let both of you answer it, one from the coach perspective and one from the player perspective. And Tanner's now doing a little bit of coaching as well. So before we totally launch into that, I'll let you both just do a little intro of kind of where you are in the world right now, managing everything that's happening around us. So just a short snapshot of what your world looks like today. And Coach Bohl, we'll start with you.
You bet. Well, it's great to be on. And, you know, my wife, Leah, and I have been in Laramie pretty much the whole time since, you know, we had the outbreak and we sent our players home from spring break. It's certainly been a unique time faced with a lot of challenges, but we've tried to turn a lemon and make some lemonade out of it. So been in Laradise the whole time.
Awesome. And you're just having players come back now, right?
Yeah, you know what, we're taking a careful look to have our players come back into Laramie. They've come from all over the country. There's a strict protocol. We're one of the first schools in the country. We're a leading school in the country to set this precedence. And so we're going to make sure we have a right coming out.
Great, thank you. And Tanner, share a little bit about where you are and what you're up to.
Yeah, so in March, you know, I was playing in the XFL and doing that thing. I was out in New York, and they had shut the league down and sent us back home. So just been back in my hometown in Aurora, and actually had we started up you know, a little training company. One of my best friends and I, Joseph Parker, he was at Wyoming for a short amount of time, but we've been training some receivers out in the area, and started to get some smaller groups going, and it's getting pretty big. So just been doing that, but it's been going good.
Awesome, thank you. Well, we'll kick off with this question about being the underdog. And I think, Coach Bohl, when you came in, certainly Wyoming was viewed as an underdog in the region. And so what are some of the things you think about and train your team to think about when you are competing as an underdog?
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to know who you are, and know your strengths and leverage your strengths. Sometimes you worry so much about what an opponent is doing. You need to be more concerned about taking care of the business at hand. And Tanner will tell you something I've always believed as leaders of the football team, whether they be captains or great players like Tanner, or specifically myself as a head football coach, there's a principle in leadership: if the leader can't see it, you can't seize it. And so to be really authentic, you have to have a firm conviction in your heart what the path is to leverage your strengths, what the path is for victory. And then we have leveraged the fact, sometimes that chip on our shoulder. And I think the people of Wyoming have that, you know what, we've got an underdog mentality. The whole world out there sometimes doesn't think that we can accomplish what we can accomplish. And I'm in hopes that through the last couple of years, our football team has been an encouragement to the people in this state that we can overcome and do some things that a lot of people on the outside don't think you can.
Great. Tanner, what about you? What were your thoughts going into games as sort of the underdog or the other team favored to win?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're the underdog, there's really nothing to lose when you go into a game like that, and there's no real pressure to win either. So I think just the biggest thing is just staying confident in yourself, your teammates, your coaching staff, and just because they're supposedly the better team doesn't necessarily guarantee a win for them. So I would just say, staying confident, and that's it.
Awesome. How about moving to kind of the comeback victory, which I think particularly during Josh Allen and Tanner, your years as well, you had a couple of seasons where it seemed like game after game you had these incredible wins, coming back from behind, and overtime wins and last second catches. Coach Bohl, how do you coach your team to sort of stay in the game, and looking for both the the football example, but then also in sort of this time of uncertainty and difficulty we're all facing as leaders, how do we stay in the game and set ourselves up for that last second victory?
Well, first of all, great players make great coaches. So Tanner and all the rest of the crew and the guys we have now, it's been joys to have a chance to coach them. I will tell you, we're on uncharted times. And the thing that I have clung to when we've been behind is maintain poise and composure. You have a plan and you need to work the plan. And I want to give a shout out to Governor Gordon and his administration right now. People may not like the plan of what's going on, but one thing I've learned is we're all intertwined. And Tanner will tell you that as you're going in and facing that adversity, you better all believe in the plan and work the plan and sell out, because we're all interdependent. And there's got to be a belief that you're going to come up with a victory, a positive thinking. And sometimes as you go in at the beginning of a game, everybody's all excited. But as the game wears along and the rubber meets the road and you've got fatigue and you're overcoming adversity, and this is where we're at right now with COVID-19. I don't know where we're at in this pandemic, but we're certainly not at the start. But to believe in the plan, understand that we're intertwined. We all have to be accountable to one another and move forward, and we'll come up with a big victory.
Thanks. I think we would all choose maybe less overtimes than that season that kicked off. I can't remember the opponent, but I do remember the game ending at like 2 a.m. After several overtimes. But I think that game did set the tone for that season, of what your teams had confidence in what they could do to stick to the plan and come back in those moments.
Well, there's no doubt. And that game actually was Tanner had played the year before, but we were playing Northern Illinois. We had come off a 2-win season. There was a lot of speculation. There was all kinds of adversity. We had storms coming in and out. And I knew something was special about that team between Josh Allen, Tanner, and some of the rest of the guys. When we took the field, there was a real belief we're going to win. No matter what happened during the course of this game, we're going to believe in one another, work the plan, stay positive, and we came up with a big win.
Awesome. Tanner, how about from your perspective as a player, running lots of routes where you don't get the ball, watching defense take the field, and then kind of waiting for that magical moment to open up? What's your headspace as you prepare for that?
Just to go off kind of what Coach Bohl said, just belief in your teammates, that's the biggest thing. And as I know in the off season, as we trained, it was always belief in our teammates. We always trusted that we would all get our work done, and, we would all get better in the off season and make each other better. And that definitely carried into the season. And even in times that we were losing games and, things weren't going well and whatnot, we never lost faith. And I think that's what made our team special that year, was just kind of the bond that we all had within, and just kind of the trust that we had within one another, and just how hard we fought for each other. So
I'm going to dig a teeny bit deeper on that question, because, football players are humans too. And you probably have moments that you're really frustrated with the person lining up next to you, or the choices happening around you, or personalities that don't quite mesh. And so how do you develop that trust and confidence in each other when you recognize that, you're all fallible, but you rely on each other and you are intertwined when it comes down to it? So what are your thoughts on how you sort of develop that trust over time?
Yeah. I guess a football for me, like I've played, quite a few sports, and football for me was something where, as teammates, it was a lot easier to bond, just because of, I feel like kind of how difficult the sport is. It's very physically demanding, and it does get hard, and nobody's perfect. nobody's ever played a game and, where they didn't have bad plays. So, and emotions do get the best of guys sometimes, and, it can hurt the team and stuff. But I think just the ability for, football players to stick together, and, just be able to keep each other up, and just be able to fight through the adversity that comes within a game and within a season too.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Coach Bohl, are there any sort of magic ingredients that you look for in players who you can go to in those clutch moments?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you develop them or draw them out of players?
Well, there's art, and then there's science, and some of it just comes down to a DNA. One of the things that we strive to do when we first got to the University of Wyoming, when we went out to a recruiting platform, we developed what's called the Wyoming profile. And we've stuck to a lot of those attributes as we were looking for different players. One that's going to value education, somebody that's going to be selfless. But one of the attributes is somebody that's an ultra competitive person. And no matter what situation they want to achieve, and they want to achieve at a high level and take ownership and not point fingers at somebody else. And so during the course of football, and I think it's the ultimate team sport because everybody's dependent on everybody on every single play. And when you step in the huddle, and Tanner will tell you, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're African-American, Hispanic, white, we got big guys, small guys, fast guys, fat guys, skinny guys. When you're all in the huddle, you've got one goal. And so we're looking for ultimate team players that want to bond. But more than anything else is anybody that's ultra competitive, that doesn't look at all the obstacles on the outside, but has belief in their teammates and themselves.
Awesome. Tanner, how about from your perspective? What did you see in yourself, or how did you develop the confidence to run to the end zone, put one hand up and catch the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's developed over time, just through repetitions, and, throughout my high school and college career, I did pride myself on, working hard and kind of doing the extra things that I felt would, matter in those clutch situations. And I think just over time, just as I saw myself develop as a player, just saw myself get better and better. That's where the confidence really came in. And, you make some plays in games, and, it really shows you like, wow, I can really do this, and, do it at a high level. So, and then I think after that, what just comes is just, you want to be that guy in the clutch moment that they give that a chance to make a play and make the biggest play of the game. So, yeah, I would say just over time and just being able to stay confident in yourself is key.
We heard an interesting comment from Governor Sullivan a couple weeks ago talking about how he was not quite jealous, but somewhat envious of leaders in these really difficult times, because as he looked back, the moments he was most proud of were the hardest ones, the ones where he worked through the most adversity and found the path forward and the solution forward. And he said, this will be one of those chapters for our country and for Wyoming to write in these really adverse times. And so leaders should, I think, maybe in the football analogy, be wanting to have the ball come to them or have the play drawn up, that they're a key part of it. And so it just sort of strikes me as an interesting parallel. The other thing we've heard recently too from a Marine Corps captain, she commented about you have to go through scenarios ahead of time so that when the real time comes, you know what to expect and you're not necessarily iterating in the moment. And I think a lot of us feel like we are iterating in the moment, or we're writing the play as we go. And so, Coach Bohl, maybe what advice would you have for leaders across the state who maybe didn't practice this play in their business plan and don't exactly know how to move forward? What advice would you have for how to keep that poise and composure that you talked about?
I would echo what you said with the, I believe it was a major in the Marines. You know what, and Tanner will tell you, we practice a 2-minute drill all the time. We go through all the different scenarios. But everybody said, just like a prize fighter can practice all these things, and then when they get in the middle of the ring, all of a sudden when the first punch is thrown, you throw it all out. You've got to have some firm foundations and some firm convictions on what you really believe in, what you're going to hang your hat on. There's a saying out west, you dance with who brung you. I think what we have done is when we get in those crunch times, first of all, if as a head football coach, if I'm uncomposed and I don't have confidence and I don't have consistency, no one else around me is going to have that. And that spills down to our players. And then I think the next thing is just recognize that, you know what, you're going to be dealing with adversity. There's going to things that are going to come up. So you got to be nimble. And this is where experience comes into play. And then relying on your confidence. You know, I appreciate all the things that Senator Simpson said. You know, one of the things is your intuition, your gut feeling. When you've been chosen to be a head football coach for X number of years, you may look at all the obstacles that are out there, but you've got to go with your gut and to be able to make those decisions. I know that probably a lot of the fans out there wished I would have gone for it on 4th down more. I know Tanner probably said, throw me the ball more. But we've got firm convictions and we ride for the brand, and that's how we roll here, and it's working fairly well.
Great. Tanner, anything to add on the sort of unscripted play or how to keep it together when you're in a scenario you didn't imagine being in?
Yeah, just, you know, just like Coach talks about composure, you know, just composure and always having a positive mindset, always, you know, glass half full. And yeah, I mean, that's all I would have to add to that.
Great. We have a question from the class, and if other folks have questions, feel free to chime in. Maybe Dr. Seidel will have some questions for you, Coach Bohl. We'll work those into the mix.
I know he's got probably a couple plays drawn up for me, so I'll listen to him.
That's actually what this whole night is, a setup that Dr. Seidel drew up a play with Al Simpson in it, and we're going to try to get you to run it.
Well, you know what? Those are two pretty bright guys. Their IQ is definitely higher than mine. I'll look at seeing if we can get it done.
So one of the questions from John Cannigator was, as a leader, how do you internally follow through with your vision when the statistics say that you're wrong?
That's a great question, because football, there's all kinds of analytics that go into it. And we do tons of studies and analyze our data as we go into a game plan. But as you talked about, sometimes in between injuries or scores or weather and things like that, we can have all these plans and then we get a blizzard and our game plan changes. And these are times when you have to have a really good pulse of your football team. And really, I became really close friends with a couple of past governors. You know, Governor Meade was great, and I've appreciated Governor Gordon. And then Governor Freudenthal once said, Coach, if you're going to lead them, you got to know them. And one of the things that I've strived to do as a coach is get to know our football team and know where they're at and understand. And, you know, whether it be all the players, whether Logan Wilson or other people, they'll see me go out there on the practice field and I'll kind of go like that. And they all know what I'm looking at. I'm watching them. I'm watching their body language, their movement. And then when you've got to reach down, I think every great head coach knows what buttons to push. And you can only get emotionally high so many times, but when you can reach in and really touch somebody's heart and grab a hold of their soul to say, hey, I believe in you right now. We got to have it for the Cowboys. Get it done one time. And that's the difference between, I think, a great coach and an average coach.
That's awesome. I'm ready to play, and I don't know any of the plays.
Well, I appreciate you, but Al Simpson, if you're still on, don't call us. We'll call you.
Yeah. Tanner, maybe flipping the coin a little bit, you've been a player your whole life and now you're dabbling in being a business owner and a coach. What lessons have immediately come to light as you sort of started to stand on the sidelines or start coaching yourself? What are the things you're recognizing in that journey?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the weirdest part is being called coach. Like these kids are calling me coach and sir and all that stuff, and I kind of don't like it. You know, I'm only 25. I feel like it just makes me feel way older than that. But it is cool to see the impact that I'm kind of having on them. And the coolest part is just, you know, watching the kids grow. and they get better and better, and to see how happy it makes them, and I think it's just awesome. But yeah, coaching is interesting. Now I do see like the frustrations that our coaches had, with us. We were always like, why are these guys so mad at us? I don't understand. But then you tell them to do stuff and they don't do it. So I can see why the coaches were frustrated. But it definitely is fun, and it's definitely a good change. So.
Awesome. Well, we're getting close to sort of wrapping up at 8:30. So if folks have any other last questions, feel free to chime in the chat window. And maybe Coach Bohl ask kind of a more personal question of can you give us an example or a time in your own leadership growth that you as a leader learned something about yourself or learned something about how to be more effective that might be relevant for others who are sort of facing the biggest season they've ever had in light of the uncertainty. So asking for a little more personal, if something comes to mind. This is unprompted, so I recognize putting on the spot.
Yeah, then I'm used to unprompted questions. I've been in a lot of media conferences. I would say this is one thing I learned through the years is, we're all interconnected as people, and players I have found really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And empathy is so important, and be able to place yourself in their shoes and understand and listen. And when I was a younger coach, I was a defensive coordinator, and I had all these schemes and everything else. And I would walk down the hall and I was so focused on the tasks that I had that I wouldn't even engage other people around me. And you realize it's not about X's and O's, it's about Jimmy and Joe's. It's about people. And so I think that's the biggest thing. I was deficient. And I think maybe through the years now I've learned about opening my eyes and really being empathetic and caring about other people and bringing out the best in them, looking inside and holding them accountable, but bringing out the very best in them. And I think that's been a big, big part of our success.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Bohl. Well, Tanner, maybe we'll end with a fun question for you, which is what workout should Coach Bohl put Gunner through in his first practice back?
Yup. Love it.
Whoop his ass into shape, Coach. Get him right. Hey, he's been working with me, and he's definitely really excited for the season. I know he's excited to get back with his teammates just from talking to him, and I think it's going to be a really good year for the Cowboys. So I'm excited to watch.
That's great.
I want to wish you luck, Coach.
Thank you, Tanner. Love you.
I love you too.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will wrap up. We really appreciate you and Coach. Awesome to see the War Memorial Stadium in the background. Yeah, this is our round of applause on video. It is the best we can do given the circumstances. So from all of the leaders across Wyoming and huge fans of the Cowboys, and Senator Simpson, I'm not sure if he's still on, but if he is, it's just really, it means a lot to have leaders who embody the values of Wyoming. And I think both of you are great examples of that. And Tanner, you live that as a Cowboy as well. So thank you for sharing your perspective and your wisdom with us tonight and being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Thank you. Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
Go
yeah.
Pokes.
Here, let's we're gonna, you can all unmute for a second and let's get a good Go Pokes in there. That feels like a mandatory option.
Count us down.
Go
Pokes. Go Pokes.
Awesome. Go Pokes. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.